I'm really impressed with the performance of this build. It's working great. I'm just super happy with how quiet it is and how powerful it is. Hey everyone, Digital David here. Today in this episode of Newegg Now, I'm going to be benchmarking and testing my brand new PC build. This is a build I designed specifically for myself and for content creators. So if you're a content creator looking to upgrade your system, you're definitely going to want to check out this build. That being said, Newegg is sponsoring today's video, and Be Quiet did send me some of the parts and components, and Lexar also sent me the RAM, but any opinion expressed in this video is strictly my own. That being said, if you're interested in anything that you see here, the links will be in the video description. Now let's go over our build list. So here's a look at all of the parts to this build on Newegg, and you can see what we have our public wish list title. If you want to check it out, it'll be linked below. It's the Content Creators PC build. Currently the subtotal is showing $2,600. This isn't accurate. I mean, it is. If you wanted to buy all the parts today, that's what you'd pay. But keep in mind, we have a massively overpriced GPU in here. This is about double what the MSRP is. So keep that in mind. Prices will fluctuate. So hopefully it can go lower for you. It should be around that $2,000 mark if you can get a GPU at MSRP, any of the 3060s. If not, it will be around this price point or even higher if you want to bump up to maybe a 3070 or a 3080. But let's look at all the parts and components that we have. First up, we have our CPU. This is the Ryzen 9 5900X. Great 12-core CPU. If you want to spend a little bit more, you could get the 5950X. That's another great option, especially if you need those extra cores for your video editing or demanding applications. Next up, what really makes this build and sets it apart is the motherboard. They have a great price on this board right now, $429. That's going to be typically $100 less than any other retailer. So well done, Newegg, on that. Great deal for this board. Why did I pick this board? For a couple of reasons. One, USB galore, tons of USB for you, which is really important. The second thing is Thunderbolt 4. If that's important to you, you'll enjoy having that with this board. For me, it's the 10 gig networking. They also have a 2.5 gig port as well. And last but not least, PCIe 4.0 for 3 M.2 drives. I'll show you that drive later. That gets blazing fast read and write speeds. Next up, here's the RAM that I'm using. Feel free to swap it in with a different RAM that's going to be a better value. I couldn't find the RAM that I got from a different seller on Newegg. I paid around $120 for 32 gigabytes instead of what you're seeing here, 16 gigabytes for 115. So feel free to mix and match that with DDR4 of your choosing. But I do like the Lexar RAM. If you can find that, go ahead. You can get that as well. It's really up to you, but you can save a couple of bucks there. Next up, we have our RTX 3060. This is the Asus TUF Gaming version. So you can see the price. This is about double what the MSRP should be. So just keep that in mind. Hopefully you can find one at MSRP, or you can use an older one as a holdover. Next, our case. This is the Be Quiet Dark Base 700 mid tower case with RGB LED lights. It does include two 140mm fans. I prefer Be Quiet parts and components for my content creating PCs because I'm filming using them and obviously streaming. And these are very quiet, true to the name, which is why I like to use their cases, their fans, and their power supplies and coolers when I'm doing a build for my content creating PCs. They just seem to be the best in my opinion. So this is the case we're using. Really excited to build in it. Then you can see we have our Pure Power 11 FM. This is a 750 watt modular power supply. They have a couple different options for that too, 550 and 650 if you prefer. Next, we have my favorite M.2 drive. This is the PNY XLR8 1 terabyte drive. So this is what I like to use. Blazing fast speeds at PCIe 4.0. You just can't go wrong with this drive. Next, you can see with the Be Quiet Shadow Rock 3 CPU cooler, 190 watt TDP, plenty for our 5900X CPU. And then last but not least, if you want to get a copy of Windows 10 or Windows 11, you can do that as well. You can get the downloaded version if you don't want a DVD or USB flash drive and you want to get it right now. Now let's go ahead, guys. Let's get our PC built. First up, we're going to go ahead. We're going to remove the two included fans, and I'm going to swap them out with this 3-pack of Lightwings fans so we can have some nice RGB glow. So we'll take these 3 included fans, and we're going to connect them right here. So 2 for the intake, and we're going to have 1 for the exhaust. Now you can see what it looks like with all 3 fans installed. Again, we swapped out 2 of them with our RGB fans, and then we added a third RGB fan. Now let's go ahead, let's get our LED hub in place. Now you can see it installed on the back right here, and then we have our two cables we're gonna have to connect later with everything else. So on our motherboard, we have a couple of different parts and components to install. We're gonna install the CPU, the cooler, our RAM, and our M.2 drive. First, let's go ahead, let's prep for our cooler. So we're gonna remove these two pieces right here, and then we're gonna take our 4 screws and those 4 black pieces, and we're gonna drop them in place, and we're gonna install those with these brackets. Now you can see both brackets have been installed. Let's go ahead, let's put the CPU on. So we have this lever right here. You're gonna go ahead, you're gonna open that up, drop it in place. So there we go. It just fits right in, and then you take this lever, and then you snap it shut. We're gonna take our 2 sticks of RAM. We're gonna follow the indicator on the board. So for our first 2 sticks, we're gonna use A2 and B2. It's only gonna go one way, so make sure you have it lined up properly. And then just gently press in place. You should hear it snap. So there we go, just snapped in place. And now let's take our second stick. Same thing, line it up, only gonna fit one way. I'm gonna go ahead and install our M.2 drive in the first slot right here. So we have to remove this cover and we'll get it installed. It's gonna snap right in, and then we have this little lever right here, and it locks it in place, no screw needed. Now we're ready to put this cover back on, but be sure to remove this piece of film before you finish installation. There we go, we have successfully installed our M.2 drive. It's time to finish our cooler installation. So we're ready to take the included thermal paste. I'm just gonna give it a little press here. That's gonna go like this in between, and we're gonna fasten it in place. Now just take turns tightening both screws. So you can see we drop our screwdriver in through the top right here. We can line it up and tighten down. Now let's go ahead, let's get the fan installed. So we're gonna go ahead and clip this one right on the side as you see here. Now it's time to get the motherboard installed. For this particular board, first thing we have to do is peel off this plastic cover. Now we're ready to just gently set it in place. So now you can see we have the motherboard successfully installed. Check out the beautiful RGB fans, and don't forget about the really cool RGB that we have on the front of the case. So first up, we're looking at our idle temps right here for our CPU, around 42 degrees Celsius. Our motherboard showing 36 degrees Celsius. We do have the tempered glass panel on, so keep that in mind. The case is fully enclosed, so to speak. Now let's go ahead, let's put the CPU under full load and check on the temps again. So you can see our CPU is currently under 100% load, and it has been for over 5 minutes. And I just actually saw a temperature drop. So it appears we have peaked at 65 degrees Celsius. And now you can see it's holding steady around 63, 64 degrees Celsius. So the cooler is working great, and obviously so is the CPU. So now we're looking at CPU-Z. Check it out. We're in the CPU tab right here. Feel free to pause the screen to look at anything longer. I'll click through all the different tabs for you. Here's our motherboard, our memory, nothing for SPD or graphics. Then you can see our bench results right here. We got a single core score of 646.9 and a multi-core score of 9,455.8. Now you can see our Geekbench 5 results right here. We got a single core score of 1627 and a multi-core score of 12,047. We have our system information, so you can see our system info. And then you can see a breakdown of our single core performance right here. Here's the rest of it. And then we have our breakdown of our multi-core performance. And you can see the rest of that score and breakdown right here. Now we have our Cinebench R23 results. You can see we got a multi-core score of 20,497 and a single core score of 1,606. And we have a complete breakdown letting us know our ranking compared to other CPUs. So we can change that depending on the score. But you can see we finished towards the top, as you would expect. Here's our multi-core score. Towards the top again. Just depends on the CPU you're comparing it with. And then you can see our MP ratio right here of 12.76. Last but not least, I thought we'd put it through an SSD benchmarking test. So you can see for our XLR 8 drive, we got a read score of 5754 megabytes a second and a write score of 4,809 megabytes a second. Now keep in mind, they do advertise up to 7,500 megabytes per second for our read, so we did not get anywhere near that. And for the write, they advertise a score of up to 5,650 megabytes per second, and we definitely got closer to that. Either way, this is a blazing fast drive for real world applications like content creating, video editing, file copying and pasting, anything along those lines. This is a great drive that I highly recommend and I enjoy using. So overall, I'm really impressed with the performance of this build. It's working great. I'm just super happy with how quiet it is and how powerful it is. Now with that being said, of course, there's things I would improve with this, right? I'd love to have the 5950X in there, some extra RAM, swapping out our GPU for a 3080 or a 3090. But the good news is we have room for that expansion in the future, and we won't have to swap out our motherboard. That's going to last us for years to come thanks to Thunderbolt 4, Wi-Fi 6E, 2.5 gig, and 10 gig networking. We are covered and all set with this build. So a great investment in yourself, in your business, in your career. If you're a gamer, streamer, video editor, you will really enjoy the value and power of this build. Well, that concludes our video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget the product link will be in our video description below. Please go ahead, check it out, and do your shopping from there. Any purchase made through that link helps support our channel at no additional cost to you. So we're really grateful and thankful for all of your support. While you're at it, can you go ahead and hit that like button for us? And subscribe to our channel. We have new content coming out daily, and we don't want you to miss anything. Please go ahead and give us a follow online and make it a clean sweep. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, TikTok, Discord. You can message us on WeChat, check out our website, and join our free newsletter. Thank you guys so much for being here. Don't forget, new content daily, and we can't wait to see you in our next video.